Hi, here we are again. How are you going with the brush strokes? Have you tried some of your own yet? In the last 3 lessons, we have looked at repeating motifs in a brush. In this lesson, the art brush will be used as a trim. There are 2 ways that I store my trims. One is as symbols, as we did with the basic shapes in Module 1, and the zip pull in Lesson 2. Or you may have seen when you downloaded my assets file that included the zip demonstration, I had added a few more zip pulls to the symbols. And the other as art brushes. This brush is fantastic to use if you have a trim that curves over the shoe, as you see here with the Gucci trim. I also promised you that I would demonstrate another way to be able to keep a gradient in the brush. I will create the next 2 brushes using the art brush option. First, the Gucci trim. I'll draw this trim now and not talk you through it, as I am using a lot of processes we have already done. I would like this brush to have a gradient fill, but I have found that it does not work well if I merely expand the gradient, as I did in the sequence scatter brush. So, I'll introduce you to a workaround that I find quite acceptable. Select the artwork for the Gucci trim and fill it with a gradient. I'll rotate the gradient 90 degrees and adjust the color sliders. I'll select the center links and make these gradients radial. I'm also using a similar color to the gradient as a stroke color. Now I'm ready to add a rasterize effect. The reason I use an effect is to keep this artwork editable. If I were to permanently rasterize it, I would not be able to edit it. In the Effect drop-down menu, I go to Rasterize to open a dialog box. Here I will make the resolution high, 300 dpi, the background transparent, and I'll check Create Clipping Mask and add 1 mm around object. And OK, of course. Let me show you how this looks now. Here it is with the clipping mask, and now without the clipping mask. Personally, I prefer the clean edge, as it suits the AI vector style. With this method, you will have to change the gradient to other colors whenever you want a different gradient finish. Because of the fact that this is an effect, you can edit colors easily. Now I can load the brush. Select the motif and go to New Brush, Art Brush. In the dialog box, the important option to change is the Brush Scale option. This needs to be scaled proportionately. This will scale the motif to fit the line and position and will not distort the motif. Once you apply this trim to a line, you can adjust the line shape to suit the outcome. Easy and simple, and a nice way to curve trims on a drawing. To do the side view, you will have to adjust the original artwork and create a new brush. I'll drag the trim from the brush panel and keep the outside rectangle the same size as the original. I'll delete half the motif and adjust the center links. Now both brushes will be the same proportion. I'll now demonstrate the gold chain trinket with the diamante brush. I'll first create a new chain. I draw an ellipse 6 mm by 4 mm. Now I'll copy this ellipse to the back and make this stroke weight 4 points and change this to a different color to the top stroke. Now I'm copying these 3 more times to the left using a 4.5 mm keyboard increment. Once this is done, I'll select and move the 1-point stroke clear of the 4-point stroke. I'll select the 4-point stroke to expand or outline. I'll add a stroke and change the fill to a lighter color. Now I'm using the Shape Builder tool to make the links, just like I did with the chain brush. I'll move the original lines back on top of these ellipses and add the diamante brush to them and make this line weight 0.25. I'm deleting parts of the diamante that overlap. I'll make a copy of the whole brush first, and then I'm ready to add the gradient and stroke. I'll use the rasterize effect again, but only on the links, not on the diamante brush, as this blurs it too much. I'll go ahead and make my diamante chain trinket now. In conclusion, there are many iterations of brushes you can create. In Lesson 4, I have introduced you to art brushes and how great they are when we have trims that sit on a curved line. I have also demonstrated how to put a smooth rasterize effect gradient into the trims. And I have shown you that it's possible to use a brush stroke within a brush stroke as well with the diamante trim. As you can see, I have demonstrated quite a few brushes and have tried to cover as many scenarios as possible. You will have noticed with each asset file that you download, I have added more brushes than I demonstrated. This is now the start of a good asset file for you. Please try as many of these as you can, as each builds on what you already know and adds another layer of understanding. Try some of your own brushes too, and share them with me if you like. I'd love to see what you do. I'll see you in the next module, where we will do colors, textures, and patterns. Remember, as always, you can ask me questions anytime. I'm here to help you. Don't forget to do the quiz at the end of this module. It'll just help you remember a few things that you've done already. See you soon.